This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning for February 13, 2023, man gunned down in Clarendon was accused of having sex with a minor. A 41-year-old man who was accused of having sex with a minor was fatally shot while at his house in Raymond's district, Hayes in Clarendon, Saturday night. According to a police source, Sian Juba Copeland had just arrived home and went to the back of his house to fetch water when neighbors heard what they believed to be gunshots. They summoned the police. Lawmen arrived to find Copeland on his back in a pool of blood with gunshot wounds to his head and upper body. The incident occurred about 10:45 p.m. Police sources told the news that preliminary investigations have shown that a report was made against Copeland earlier this month in a case of alleged sexual intercourse with a person under 16. It is alleged that his sexual activity with the child began last October. Investigations into his death are ongoing. Construction worker gunned down, 2 injured outside Westmoreland bar. 1 man is dead and another 2 are nursing gunshot wounds after they were shot outside a bar at a Gordon district in Whitehouse, Westmoreland on Saturday night. Dead is 34-year-old Damian Thompson, otherwise called the Saka, a construction worker from the community. Reports from the Corporate Communications Unit of the Jamaica Constabulary Force are that about 10 p.m., Thompson was among a group of people at the location when an unknown assailant arrived and opened gunfire, hitting him and 2 others. The police were summoned and the injured men were transported to the hospital where Thompson was pronounced dead. The other patrons escaped unhurt. The Westmoreland police reported that as of February 8, 9 persons have been murdered in the parish. Investigation continues. Child restraint systems is still required in private vehicles. The police are advising private motorists transporting children that unlike public passenger vehicles, they are not exempted from having a child restraint system for children up to 12 years old. They are reminding that while the government has backtracked on this stipulation for PPVs under the new Tougher Road Traffic Act, it is still a requirement in private vehicles where appropriate. Head of the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Public Safety and the Traffic Enforcement Branch, Assistant Commissioner of Police Gary McKenzie, told the news on Saturday that private vehicles carrying children up to age 12 must either be outfitted with a booster seat or a well-fitted seat belt where appropriate. In a private vehicle, if the child is big enough, then the child should be in a seat belt. If the child cannot be properly held in a seat belt, then an adequate child restraint system is necessary, he said. McKenzie said that regardless of the child's age, if the child is big enough to fit comfortably in a seatbelt, then the motorist will not be penalized. He suggested that there were mechanisms that can be fitted to the seatbelt to allow it to be placed comfortably across the chest of the child. They have some triangular cuffs that can temporarily modify the seatbelt to fit across the child's chest. If it is adjusted and it fits properly across the child, then the child won't need a booster or a child restraint system, he said. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics website, healthychildren.org, an adult seatbelt fits the child correctly when the shoulder belt lies across the middle of the chest and the shoulder, not the neck or the throat. The lap belt is low and snug across the upper thighs, not the belly, and the child is tall enough to sit against the vehicle seat back with his or her knees bent over the edge of the seat without slouching and can comfortably stay in this position throughout the trip. The organization advises that children should stay in a booster seat until adult seat belts fit correctly, typically when they reach about 4 feet 9 inches in height and are 8 to 12 years of age. It noted that most children will not fit in a seat belt alone until 10 to 12 years of age, and when children are old enough and large enough to use the vehicle seat belt alone, they should always use lap and shoulder seat belts for the best protection. It said all children younger than 13 years should ride in the back seat. In the meantime, the PSTEB head said the enforcement of the new law, which came into effect on February 1, has been going fairly well, while stressing that enforcement is measured in terms of compliance and deterrence not necessarily the number of prosecutions that have been made. It is early days, yet persons are still learning about it. There is very good interest in what the new law is all about, which is very important. What will happen is that it will lead to greater compliance and certainly improve road safety, Mackenzie said. I just want everyone to know that the objective of the new Road Traffic Act and regulations is to reduce fatalities, crashes, and to improve road user behavior that will benefit us. I want to encourage persons to embrace it, and let us all see how best we can conform with it so that we can have safer roadways and greater public safety in general, he added. COVID-19 cases up in St. Thomas. Warning that there is once again an uptick in COVID-19 cases in St. Thomas, which only has a 16% vaccination rate. The parish's medical officer of health, Dr. Owen Smith, on Thursday spoke of the measures being put in place to ensure that residents have access to health care. I want to highlight to everyone that the cases of COVID-19 have started to increase again. People are now relaxed about the virus, however, they should still take the necessary precautions to protect themselves, he told the monthly meeting of the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation. Even though masks are no longer mandated, Dr. Smith encouraged their use as a way to protect against not only COVID-19, but also the influenza virus, which is also showing an increase in cases. If persons are wearing their mask, limiting social contact, and are frequently washing their hands, we will have the chance to lower these illnesses and the viruses, he reasoned. He also spoke to the need to get more people vaccinated and to put boosters into the arms of those who already have baseline vaccination. Dr. Smith pointed out as well that dengue fever should also be on the radar of the residents. Frequent rainfall, be reminded, increases the chance for breeding sites to be created. While he lauded the National Solid Waste Management Team for collecting garbage on a weekly basis, he noted that there were still many drums around that residents used to collect and to store water, and that 90% of the time, these storage containers were where the pests breed. He urged the residents to do weekly checks around their houses to ensure there are no possible breeding sites present. Dr. Smith also told the meeting that the Morant Bay Health Department had implemented an evening clinic initiative which operated from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. This will cater to people whose work schedule prevents them from visiting during the day. He added that the pharmacy will also be open for extended hours to facilitate those who patronize the evening clinic. We are looking to expand later on in all the other health centers across the parish. However, it is a bit difficult due to the accessibility of transportation at night, explained Smith. JAS urges farmers to store water in light of drought. Farmers are being urged to immediately put measures in place to prevent any fallout from the meteorological drought being experienced by the country. Lenworth Fulton, president of the Jamaica Agriculture Society, has called for immediate mitigation measures in response to Senator Matthew Samuda, minister with responsibility for water, recently revealing declining water storage levels and low rainfall. Addressing the recent commissioning of the Fraser Hill Storage Tank Replacement Project in St. Thomas, Mr. Samuda highlighted the problem with the absence of rainfall and the need for citizens to conserve water, among other measures. The JAS president says the effects of the drought are already being felt by farmers. Mr. Fulton says many programs had been undertaken as far back as the 1970s to deal with the drought issue, but have since been shelved. The JAS president says the current initiative of the government to provide black tanks in some areas cannot suffice. On the other hand, Mr. Fulton had given credit for the government's expansion of irrigation, offering to farmers across some parishes, such as St. Elizabeth and the Trelawney, among other areas. However, he says these areas possess water catchment areas, adding that there is now a need for a major program to pump water from areas where it is abundant to those with little or none of the precious commodity. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.